Did you know that 45% of Americans believe in ghosts, according to a 2019 YouGov survey? Quite a staggering statistic, isn't it? Nearly half of the population open to the possibility that there's something beyond what our eyes can see. Something supernatural, something unsettling. The world, it seems, is full of unexplained phenomena, events and experiences that push the boundaries of our understanding. We've all heard of ghost stories, tales of eerie apparitions and chilling whispers in the night. But how often do we stop to consider the truth behind these narratives? Could it be that there's more to these tales than mere campfire fodder? In a world where science and technology seem to have an answer for everything, it's easy to dismiss such stories as mere fabrications or exaggerations. But the fact that nearly half of all Americans believe in ghosts suggests otherwise. It suggests that there's a shared understanding, a communal acceptance of the fact that not everything can be explained away by logic and reason. Now, it's important to clarify that belief in ghosts isn't tantamount to an acceptance of every horror film cliché. We're not necessarily speaking of spectral figures floating through walls, or ancient curses bringing about doom and gloom. Rather, it's an acknowledgement of the unknown, a recognition that there are elements of our world, of our very existence, that we don't quite understand. Elements that can be, well, downright terrifying. You see, it's not so much about the ghosts themselves as it is about the fear of the unknown, and that fear can take many forms. For some, it's the dread of finding an unwanted guest in their home, lurking in the shadows. For others, it's the terror of stumbling upon an ominous relic, radiating an aura of pure malignancy. These fears, as irrational as they may seem, are deeply ingrained in our psyche. They tap into our primal instincts, our innate sense of self-preservation. And when confronted with situations that defy explanation, that challenge our understanding of the world, these fears can become all too real. So where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us here, on the precipice of reality and the supernatural, ready to delve into the chilling world of real-life horror stories. Stories that will make your skin crawl, your heart race, and your mind question the very nature of reality. But be warned, these tales are not for the faint of heart. They are disturbing accounts of encounters with the inexplicable, the supernatural, the downright terrifying. They are stories that will make you question your own beliefs and perhaps even your own sanity. So, if you're ready to embark on this chilling journey to explore the darkest corners of reality, then let's begin. Let's delve into the first of our chilling tales. But remember, once you step into this world, there's no turning back. These are real-life horror stories that you won't believe until they happen to you. Now let's delve into the first of our chilling tales. Ever felt like you're not alone in your own home? One man discovered he wasn't just feeling things. Meet James, a regular guy with a regular job, living in a regular apartment. But something wasn't quite right in his seemingly mundane life. It all began innocently, with little things going missing from his fridge. A carton of milk here, an apple there. Easy enough to brush off as forgetfulness, right? But then, the strange smell started. A musky scent that seemed to linger in the air. A smell that he couldn't quite place. James, being a rational man, thought it could be a gas leak or maybe mold. He scoured his home, looking for the source, but found nothing. Yet the smell remained, and the feeling of unease grew. He began to feel as if he was being watched. An unsettling chill would creep up his spine. The hairs on his neck would stand on end. He'd turn around expecting to see someone, but there was never anyone there. Then, one day, James came home to find his living room in a disarray. His heart pounded in his chest as he surveyed the room. He was certain he didn't leave it this way. The police were called, but they found no sign of forced entry. The doors and windows were all locked from the inside. It was a puzzle that no one could solve. The unease escalated into fear. James couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of not being alone. He decided to take matters into his own hands. So he set up a hidden camera in his apartment, hoping it would provide some answers. The next morning, he reviewed the footage, and what he saw made his blood run cold. There, on the screen, was a woman, crawling down from his attic in the dead of the night. She moved around his apartment with an eerie familiarity, eating his food, watching his television, and most chillingly, watching him as he slept. A stranger, an unseen tenant, had been living in his home, right above his head. The police were called again, and this time they found the woman. She had been living in the small crawl space in the attic, a space that James never thought to check. The strange smell was from the makeshift living area she had set up. The missing food, the disarray, the feeling of being watched. It all made sense now. The woman was taken into custody, and James was left to grapple with the reality of what had happened. His home, a place that should have been his sanctuary, had been invaded in the most unsettling way. It's a story that sends shivers down your spine, isn't it? It's a tale that blurs the line between the horror we see on screen and the horror that can happen in real life. Because the truth is, sometimes the real-life stories are the ones that haunt us the most. Imagine finding an unwanted guest in your own home, living right above you. Our next story takes us deep into the woods, where one man stumbles upon something truly eerie. Imagine, if you will, a man seeking solitude, a break from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. He decides to take a walk in the woods, the kind that stretches as far as the eye can see, the kind where the trees whisper secrets to those who listen closely. But on this day, the woods had a different tale to tell. As he ventured deeper into the forest, he came across an unusual sight. There, hidden amidst the thick foliage, stood a twisted idol. The idol was not large, but it was grotesque. Its face was a contortion of anguish and malevolence, its body twisted in a way that seemed to defy the very laws of nature. The sight of it was enough to send a chill down his spine, a primal fear that screamed at him to turn back. But curiosity can be a powerful force, even in the face of such dread. He approached the idol, his heart pounding in his chest. The closer he got, the more the air seemed to thicken, the light dimming as if the forest itself was closing in. He could feel it, an ominous aura emanating from the idol, a palpable sense of dread that seemed to seep into his very bones. He reached out, his hand shaking, and touched the idol. The moment his skin made contact with the cold, rough surface, a wave of nausea washed over him. The world around him spun, the trees swaying as if caught in a violent storm. He pulled his hand back, stumbling away from the idol, and then he heard it. A low, guttural growl, like the sound of an animal stalking its prey. He turned around, his eyes scanning the darkened forest. There was nothing there, but he could feel it, the sense of being watched, of being hunted. He started to run, his breath coming in ragged gasps as he navigated through the dense undergrowth. But the forest was not as he remembered it. The paths twisted and turned, leading him further into the unknown. He was lost, disoriented, the twisted idol seemingly having distorted his perception of reality. He could still hear the growls, growing louder with each passing minute, the feeling of being watched never leaving him. As he ran, he saw a figure in the distance, a man, cloaked in black, standing still amidst the chaos. He called out, hoping for help, but the figure didn't move. It just stood there, watching him with an intensity that made his blood run cold. The figure raised a hand, pointing towards the idol, the message clear. The idol was not to be disturbed. The man continued to run, the cloaked figure disappearing into the darkness. He ran until his legs gave way, until he could no longer hear the growls, until the feeling of being watched finally subsided. He had finally escaped the woods, but the encounter with the twisted idol had left a lasting impression. The man finally escaped the woods, but he couldn't shake off the feeling that he was still being watched. This tale serves as a chilling reminder of the unknown that lurks in the shadows, of the unseen forces that exist beyond our comprehension. It warns us of the dangers of disturbing what should be left undisturbed, of the consequences of letting curiosity lead us into the depths of the unknown. For the man who stumbled upon the twisted idol, it was an encounter he would never forget, a real-life horror story that defies belief. From hidden tenants to ominous idols, these are not your average tales. We've journeyed through the chilling narrative of a man whose home was invaded by an unseen tenant, a woman who lived in his crawl space, silently observing, stealing food, and casting an eerie shroud over his every waking moment. Then, We navigated the dense woods with a man who stumbled upon a twisted idol that exuded an ominous aura. Lost and frightened, he felt the unnerving sensation of being watched and followed by a cloaked figure in all black. These accounts, each imbued with a tangible sense of dread, are based on actual events, which makes them even more horrifying. They compel us to confront the unsettling fact that our world, our reality, is often a stage for silent horrors that lurk in the shadows. These stories serve as a grim reminder that sometimes the real world can be just as terrifying as any horror movie. If you've had your own encounter with the supernatural, we'd love to hear your story. There's something about the unknown that both frightens and fascinates us. It's the darker side of curiosity, the uneasy feeling that sends shivers down your spine and the goosebumps prickling on your skin. It's the thrill of a good scare, the chill of a shadow passing by, the quiet whisper in the dark that makes your heart race. Real-life horror stories. They are the ones that keep us awake at night, that make us question the world around us, and make us wonder what lurks in the shadows. The tales we've shared today are just the tip of the iceberg. They're a glimpse into the unsettling, the eerie, the downright terrifying experiences that some people have lived through. The unseen tenant and the twisted idol. Two stories that defy belief, yet they happened in the real world, to real people, just like you and me. It's easy to dismiss these as mere tales, figments of overactive imaginations. But what if they're not? What if these stories are more than just stories? What if they're warnings, or even worse, harbingers of what's to come? It's a chilling thought, isn't it? But that's what makes these tales so compelling. They challenge our understanding of the world, they push the boundaries of our comfort zones, and they remind us that there's so much more to this world than what meets the eye. Now, it's your turn. We've shared our stories, and now we want to hear yours. Have you ever had a brush with the supernatural? Have you ever felt the chilling presence of something unseen, something otherworldly? Have you ever stumbled upon something that defies explanation? Something that sent shivers down your spine and left you questioning your own sanity? We're all ears. Share your experiences with us, no matter how bizarre or unbelievable they might seem. After all, it's the strange, the eerie, the unexplainable that makes life interesting, isn't it? So don't hold back. Let us in on your own real-life horror story. We promise we won't judge. After all, who are we to say what's real and what's not? And while you're at it, why not join our community of horror enthusiasts? Subscribe to our channel for more spine-chilling content. We've got plenty more stories to share, plenty more tales to terrify, and plenty more mysteries to unravel. So, if you're up for a good scare, if you're fascinated by the unknown, if you're intrigued by the unexplainable, then you're in the right place. Subscribe and become a part of our journey into the dark, into the unknown, into the realm of real-life horror stories. Remember, sometimes the most chilling tales are the ones that happen in real life.